Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Hello and welcome back to Outside the Manosphere with Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
How you been doing this week, Carlos?
This week, it's been a whirlwind, but, well, not really. It's been fine. Yeah, I've been good.
Anything happening that's adding to the whirlwind or no?
You know what? Absolutely not. I just have a flair for the dramatic. Nothing has happened at all. It's been a very boring, normal week.
Just been sitting in your cubby.
just been sitting around. Just been sitting around. It helped my father-in-law build things, but that's about all. What about you?
I actually just got back from switching doctors, which is very exciting. I don't know how much you remember in the Czech Republic, but you go and you register and you go through the whole physical process and all that. So I got my vial for my pee to turn that in sometime and
well, congratulations.
Get my blood taken. Yeah, because I already had this appointment, but on Monday I was getting ready to go to bed and I was reading in bed like I do. And I was reading on my stomach with my elbows down, and then suddenly my shoulder just didn't work anymore. So it was,
you had no range of motion, or what do you mean?
No range of motion. It just hurts. Like lifting this shoulder, it just is really painful. So it was opportune that I already had a doctor's appointment. But yeah, just the beauty of getting old just kind of sneaks up and feels like whenever I get one part fixed, something else breaks.
It has to compensate. Your body has to compensate for your wellness.
Yeah. So yeah, I went and I had the EKG things. They strap. It's really old school. They strap like the suction cups all over your chest and your stomach, and little clamps on your ankles and your wrists, and do the EKG and stuff. It's a good time.
It sounds like a torn rotator cuff or something. I mean, I don't know how you do that laying on your stomach reading a book, but
I think it's just like a pinched nerve or something. But yeah.
Okay.
But it's a new doctor because we used to go to this place Jess and I called Shady Medical because they make you pay, medicine's free here. Essentially you pay your insurance, just like I assume it is there mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the Czech Republic, I should say. And we went to this other place where we had a yearly charge for a fee, and then they charged us for all kinds of stuff. And they were like, they made us pay cash, and they were like, oh, and we work with insurance, but they don't pay for all of it, and you got to pay this part in cash to us, and we're not connected to their thing, and it was just very shady. So we finally moved to a real doctor, which for a long time was hard to find because nobody spoke English, but now there's more of them.
Right. How's your Czech, by the way?
My Czech is limping.
Yeah. It's a hard language.
Yeah.
It's a hard language.
Yeah. It was good enough to pass the citizenship test, but I work in English. I've always worked in English. My wife's American. I'm never going to be fluent. And I finally, after I got my citizenship test passed, I came to terms with that and was just like, you know what? I'm going to learn Spanish.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I've been doing 3 years of Duolingo Spanish, which is
nice.
Basically beginner.
I had started with Duolingo out here because I minored in French way back in the day. And there was a time when I would say I was proficient at French, and I was definitely could carry on a conversation and understand.
Wow.
But that was quite some time ago. And ever since I graduated, which was in 2007, I think, which was a late graduation, I was an older student.
It's another commonality.
I haven't used it since. And, it's also limping along, but I did Duolingo for French out here and in Canada because New Brunswick is the only officially bilingual province in Canada. So I thought, I may as well, up my chances for employment or whatever, and just make myself a more desirable, human being here. But yeah, the Duolingo is hard. I mean, it makes it fun, I suppose, but you have to have motivation to do it yourself. You know what I mean? Rather than like
Yeah.
schlepping to a class and sitting among other people and doing it that way.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of optimal for just vocabulary, but for actual use, it's not super helpful. So it gives you kind of like, I feel like we've wanted to move to a Spanish-speaking country for a while, or I say we. I've been pushing for this for a number of years now, and I feel like it's just like a hit the ground running thing. I can start stumbling over my words immediately rather
Yeah.
than waiting 6 months. But I'm never going to actually get good without like actually speaking to someone.
Well,
so.
yeah, you have to immerse yourself, but
Yeah.
a contradiction to that is being in the Czech Republic and not speaking Czech, and that's not a criticism of you because I was there for a very long time and I didn't speak the language either. In fact, I remember must have been my first year that I was there, and I was at a pub with expats, and I met some guy. I won't say his name because he's probably still there. But he'd been there for like 8 years, and I was like, "Oh, you must be fluent in Czech." It was a very kind of naive thing to say, just arriving. He's like, not so much. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, as he was explaining, oh, you don't really need to do it. I thought, what a lazy ass idiot to be there for 8 years and not speak the language. And I was like, what a clown. And I was just full on judgment. And then I was there 6 years. I spoke transactional Czech. I could get by like in the grocery store and that kind of thing.
Yep.
But a lot of that was body language, and you could just kind of figure out what someone's saying to you based on POC vocabulary as well as they're using their hands. But,
it's a difficult language.
It's super hard. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's yeah. Anyway, and then French came rather easy for me because I don't speak Spanish, but my parents do, my grandparents do, my aunts, uncles, I grew up hearing it my whole life. And so it's a very familiar language to me. In fact, I would say I'm probably more competent in French than I am in Spanish, but I can understand maybe more, like verbally, I can understand maybe more Spanish than I can French. But if I read it or whatever, I can actually communicate in French. I can't really communicate well in Spanish.
Yeah. So speaking about foreign lands, the Manosphere, we were looking over an article from USA Today, and it's called "Here's What Red Pill, Misogyny, and Other Manosphere Terms Mean." But we wanted a little bit more refined definition of manosphere. They defined it as a digital collection of websites, videos, and forums that promote male supremacy and advocate for traditional gender roles. And they kind of go on to talk about how men in this space believe that they're subjugated in modern society, and they blame women for oppressing them. Just kind of a lot of whiny stuff because they're not competent, in my opinion. To kind of turn it back on them. All their DEI complaints. You're not giving men a fair chance. White men have had it so rough.
Yeah, it's hard to even fathom that sort of mindset, but it does also go further with the definition to include. I think I don't have it in front of me, but opposition to LGBTQ. And what was the
anti-Semitism,
racism,
and
all that.
white supremacy and things like that. Yeah. So it's pretty silly, and it's kind of like in the news right now with all the the hating DEI stuff, which I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what that is. It's not like there's not a quota system. It's about giving everybody the opportunity to apply for jobs,
right?
So that it actually is a meritocracy, and it is fair playing ground. And the complaint by all these white men that are like, you're not giving us a fair shot because now we have to compete with people. Like that's what a meritocracy is, guys.
Well, it's funny because, and I can't cite the podcast actually because I've listened to so many of them on even on the subject. It just comes up that if there's ever been an institution of diversity, equity, inclusion, it's been for white men. I mean, white Christian men specifically. They've had all the preferential treatment for the entirety of not just the United States, but for much of the Western world. You know what I mean? They've had it. They've had easy street the whole time. And now, how can I even begin to describe it? It's not even, as you said, like put this black guy up first, or let's get this even white woman up ahead of the line. It's just acknowledging that the privilege of the previous champions. You know what I mean? Yeah. White Christian men is like, hey, you guys have grown up in a system where you have benefited significantly. Once you acknowledge that, once you actually look at it, you can say, you know what? It's pretty reasonable to say maybe it's come a little bit easier. That's not to say your life is easy. That's not to say you haven't had hardships, or it's been coasting, or you're rich and you're whatever. But structurally, things have always been attuned your direction, and I don't want to. I actually haven't been prepared to talk about this, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to dig a hole for myself, but it is just
No.
acknowledging the sort of historical disadvantages of other people, and once you acknowledge that, I think
That's a good starting place.
you can accept a little bit of a I don't know a step down.
Sure. But I mean, and like these traditional DEI movement, like the DEI stuff that they're getting rid of in a lot of places, really isn't a step down at all. It's literally just saying, hey, we're going to expand the pool of people that we consider this for this position or something like that.
Right.
So that because we weren't even advertising, people didn't even know. Like women and minorities, they weren't even getting word about these jobs, and so that's a lot of what these things are, and these guys that are in the manosphere that are just whining ceaselessly to anybody that'll listen, they just can't handle the competition. They can't handle an actual meritocracy.
Well, they look at it as unfair, and
yeah.
Thank you for throwing me that little safety raft there, because I was drowning. It isn't a step down. You're not actually accepting like a lower position, and you're not accepting less pay or anything. You're just giving someone else the same opportunity you had, essentially, to get a job.
Yeah, it's that old quote. I don't know where it came from, but you hear it periodically. Like when you're privileged, when you come from privilege, equality feels like oppression, because you're losing all these benefits that you used to have. And I admit, as a white guy that grew up in a Christian family, like it's been pretty good. Like there have been a lot of things I never had to worry about. I didn't even have to consider. I didn't have to think about.
Right.
And like last time, not that this is totally on the subject, but you had mentioned that one of the books you've read the most is The Time Traveler. That's like, yeah, The Time Machine. That's like a white dude's thing. Like, I can go time travel to any time, and it'll be just peachy keen jelly bean. Whereas, if I'm a woman or a minority, that makes it considerably more difficult. So in any case, as we're talking about the Manosphere, one of the things that we're talking about doing in the future is this little segment that I'm calling the Lady Doth from Shakespeare. The lady doth protest too much. And I don't have anything prepared today, but the idea is, that there's these guys in the Manosphere that say these things that are absolutely ridiculous. Like, actually, I will give an example. A couple weeks ago, Jesse Waters from Fox News had this quote going around about men sitting in front of screens and these jobs where men were sitting at computers, and it made them women. It made them women to be sitting at computers. And which is,
I can't believe that that's actually mainstream television, and that's being absorbed by millions and millions of people.
And it's pretty rich from a guy that's job is literally to talk on a screen and look at screens and be online all day. And it just feels like with these guys, there's such a desperation to prove that they're manly. It's really desperate. It's like the most emasculating thing you can possibly do, in my mind, is to worry about whether or not you're a man.
Yeah.
Because it just shows that you don't think you're a man. This whole idea with the Lady Doth is just to kind of pick up one of these things and we can explore the ridiculousness of it. But yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't know what I was going to say, but just the Lady Doth is also another way of putting it is just show how a man, and this is what our subject is about, it may be projecting his insecurities of the world around him. And in your example, like, oh, well, you're a woman if you're in front of the TV. He's like, well, that's because this guy is doing that and probably doesn't feel super masculine in his everyday lives.
Yeah, another one that has been going around is like that it's not manly or even it's gay to have a woman achieve orgasm for some reason. It's just, again, it's that masculinity masquerading, or it's incompetence masquerading as masculinity. It's like, I can't do this. This is not a thing I'm capable of. In any case, just the idea that it would be non-masculine to have a woman achieve orgasm with you. Right. It's just, I can't imagine a world in which that's not masculine. And it's not even like a masculinity thing at some point. Like the most of these things are just adult things. If you're a woman with another woman, you want the other woman to achieve orgasm.
Yeah. You want
That's the whole point of this whole thing.
You want to make your partner happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just kind of this celebration of incompetence that's just, it's wild to me. It's
And
wild that this is something that is fostered and kind of blows around in this echo chamber.
and every now and then you'll get a jewel of confirmation. And I don't know what it was, a congressman. I'm pretty sure from Louisiana. I'm gonna get the facts mixed up, but I don't remember his name either. But he was this anti-gay.
Mm.
Or it remains, I suppose, anti-gay, I guess, advocate. I guess that's, you can
Yeah,
advocate for
yeah.
it. Yeah. But he was called out by some dude on Instagram who was like thirst trapping, I guess, other guys, not like in a negative way. He was just, his Instagram was like full of him, like muscly and sexy or
Right.
whatever. And this guy, this congressman, maybe a senator, but I'm pretty sure it was a congressman, was like commenting, and he was following the guy and commenting and like, oh, well, you're, I don't know, so muscular or that kind of thing. Just like little questionable things about, it's like, well,
Sure.
why would you be doing that if you're so anti-gay and you're doing something that is very, well, it can be perceived as very
Yeah.
gay. I mean, the interest that he had on this person who was sexualizing himself as the core of his Instagram.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any other sense other than this person's probably denying some aspect of his life and railing against it, in fact.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's part of what this stems from, and it actually reminds me of when I was in high school. It's kind of, this has always been a thing, because I've never been a super masculine guy. Like I'm a big guy, I have big shoulders and whatever, and I used to wrestle, but like I'd be walking around the school just kind of who I am. There'd be football players calling me fag or queer or whatever, and I never took that as a bad thing. I always took it as a little bit of wishful thinking on their part, because there's obviously something going on where they're very truly afraid. Like,
Right.
Homophobia to me just screams, I've never examined this and I'm terrified that I'm secretly gay. And you know what you were talking about with this senator or something. If you look, this happens like every couple of years. There's some senator that's outed for having some kind of lascivious homosexual relationship, and it's
Right.
almost always a Republican, and it's almost always a Republican who's legislated against gay people. And it's just like, it's so predictable. It's so amazingly predictable. It's the core of what this idea is, like, that Shakespeare hit on the head so long ago. Like, you're protesting too much. There's like, we know what's going on here. Everybody can see.
And can you imagine, though? I mean, just to be, I don't mean to kill the fun here, but can you imagine a person like that who is not only, I guess, in denial or just outwardly denying their sexuality, but actively trying to stifle the rights of people that you identify with? Can you imagine, what does that do to your psychology? What does that do to how you just move about in the world? You know what I mean? And I think part of that, enter the manosphere. Now we have a mass of people do, not that everyone's gay or trans or whatever, but like some aspect of at least these guys are warping the way they view things. And I'm happy that I don't know what that's like. You know what I mean? Because that seems like a really dark and unhappy place to be.
Yeah. The only thing that I think I agree with you 99%. The only thing that I would disagree is, you said, like, to be legislating or working against people that you identify with. I think their level of cognitive dissonance is so much that when they are getting on, Instagram, that they can, like, compartmentalize that little action and say, well, that was just a thing. That was nothing. It's not part of me. I don't identify it. Like, it's something else. It's something else. It's not, I'm not gay. I'm not attracted to him.
Yeah.
I'm just investigating this for some reason. But whatever it is, they're able to dissociate that from their identity. And it becomes, like, important to dissociate that from their identity.
Well, they have to.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to. I mean, then they wrap it up in their careers, and there's no other way. Like, they have to do it that way.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's super sad. I don't know any other way to describe that. Another aspect of the I mixed it up in our notes here. I said doth the lady, but it's the lady doth protest. It was a slash, and it's communicate from the Manosphere. Yeah, so it's just sort of any sort of little news item or just something that might have come up that was funny or whatever that we could have a quick word about.
Have a little fun with. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, or have a 15-minute long segment on this sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably about enough of that. Should we move on to some falling in love?
Let's fall in love, Skip.
Speaking of healthy male emotions and relationships.
Let's do it. I'm gonna. So I don't remember who started first, but I've got it open this time, so I'll go first. Did you look at it?
No.
Okay, you know what? You ask me because I didn't prepare anything, but like this is something that I think I might have to amend the question so that we actually have a conversation about it. But you ask me first. Now
Fair enough.
I'll go first.
Okay. Well, what is the question?
The question that I would like for you to ask me is, would you like to be famous? In what way?
Would you like to be famous? Question mark. In what way?
Well, thanks for asking, Skip.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to go first was because I suspect your answer is the same as mine. I could be wrong. My immediate response is nah, I don't want to be famous. Like it's not something that I strive for. End of answer. So I don't think we would have much to say. So I'm going to amend the question.
Okay.
And rather than saying, would you like to be famous? I'm going to force you to answer as if you would like to be famous. And I'll do the same thing. So, but just so we're clear, the initial answer for me was no, I don't. I have no interest in being famous. That's not something that I've ever wanted. And yeah, I've no interest in being famous. But the amended
question, danger of that here on this podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anybody listening is rolling their eyes right now. But you know what, though, I don't. Okay. We'll come back to that because I don't necessarily. I mean, fame isn't what I'm after with this sort of endeavor. In fact, if no one ever listens to this, I am perfectly happy asking you these questions and becoming pals with you because I don't need to be smooching on you any more than we already have, but I like you a lot. Okay, so the amended question is, in what way would you like to be famous? So you don't have an option of saying no, I don't want to be famous. In what way would you like to be famous? I'll answer first. I don't have a prepared answer, so yeah, let me think. If I were to be famous, I would like for it to be, and I guess this is something I've thought of as a younger person, but really fame wasn't a major aspect, or an aspect really at all. Is I would like notoriety more than fame. So when I was younger and I was writing a lot, I wanted to be a successful writer. And it wasn't that I wanted to be recognized or like, people gush over me when they see me in a restaurant or whatever. It was more that I just wanted to be, and this is pure ego. I mean, like any sort of fame is ego. But I wanted to be recognized for my thoughts, essentially, you know what I mean? And like, or maybe my how I write, the word structure and how I write, or the thoughts that it creates in the reader, you know what I mean? And with that, I would hope for some modest wealth. And I'm not a greedy person. I don't need a lot of things, but I'd like to not be worrying about anything. You know what I mean? And I saw a quote some time ago. I don't know who said it, if it was comedy, if it was a movie or what, but it was, I want enough money to order guacamole without thinking about it. You know what I mean?
It's a good metric. Yeah.
So I guess I don't know. That's maybe as far as it's. I guess it's kind of a short question either way. But that's kind of where I would be if I were to be famous. I'd like just maybe some notoriety, not necessarily to be recognized or bothered or anything like that, but some notoriety with some modest wealth. I don't really give a crap about legacy. Like I don't. I've often said that when I die, I don't even want a tombstone. Like, and I've told my family, like, you guys can cremate me and don't make a shrine of my ashes. You guys keep them as long as you need to, and then just get rid of them. I don't really have a reason to be famous.
Fair enough.
So, in what way, Skip, would you like to be famous?
So yeah, I've actually I thought about this before. In Prague for a while, I wouldn't call myself famous, but I was very well known in Prague for a while because I ran one of the main English teacher training schools. So in the community of English speakers, a lot of people knew me. I also ran, a visa company, and we worked with a number of schools. So there was a while where I really couldn't go anywhere without people coming up and talking to me or knowing who I was and things like that. And I really grew to hate it.
Really?
Yeah, I really grew to hate it. I mean, and part of it was because of the nature of what I had done, that I was a working relationship with a lot of people, and they wanted to know, something about their visa case or, whatever. If they wanted to say hi, that was great, but there was just kind of this, forced reciprocal relationship at times where I just wanted to be like with my family, relaxing, watching the sunset or something. So yeah, I grew to really dislike that. So that's when I knew, yeah, I definitely don't want to be famous in any way that people can recognize me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind, like I'm writing now. I wouldn't mind if my books became well known, that would be fine. I wouldn't want people to like, find out where I lived or
Well, that'll
track me
happen.
down or
That'll happen.
say hi in, real life that often. Like, yeah, a little bit, it's fine. But if it became kind of this encroaching thing, I don't know. Do you know who Richard Kind is?
Well, the name sounds familiar, but those are both two common words, so no,
Yeah, right.
maybe not.
So he's a actor, and he talks. I can't even do it. I can't.
Yeah.
He's got a very specific kind of look and way of speaking. He was Bing Bong in like the Inside Out movies. He was on a podcast recently talking about he was friends with Matthew Perry from Friends, and they walked through a Vegas casino one year, and it was just before Friends came out, and then had no problem, and then they went the next year, and he couldn't even make it 2 feet in.
No kidding.
And that just sounds like a particular kind of hell to me.
Yeah.
Like you're just where it's incapacitating. So but
you
no,
can't even do everyday things. You interrupt you real quick.
No,
It
go ahead.
reminded me of the original, and I'm assuming there's still a Tony the Tiger for Frosted Flakes cereal. The original voice of that, they are great. That guy,
Yeah,
he was
Tony
like,
Ravenscroft.
oh, so you even know? But so he sounded exactly like the tiger. Like he didn't change his voice for the character. And I remember seeing, I think, an interview with him on God knows what I was watching when they're interviewing Tony the Tiger, but that he'd be in grocery stores or whatever talking to his wife, and a little kid would run around the corner to like see Tony the Tiger, and it was just this old guy. But anyway, same thing. Maybe less of a celebrity, but same sort of thing. And to be bothered by children, hey, that's okay. With
that sounds all right. And I bet it didn't happen that often. Like
I got the impression that it did actually. That
really, wow,
people recognize his voice.
Yeah, I guess just the voice. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he did the Grinch song too. You're a mean one.
No way,
Mr.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, so he could
Just
sing too.
Little bits of trivia.
They used to be my ringtone, or my sister's ringtone for me.
That's funny. Yeah. So I guess I'll actually try and answer your question now, which is, if I had to be famous, how would I want to be famous? So yeah, if I wrote books and they got published and people knew them, that'd be fine with me. There was a while where I was in academia, and I wouldn't have minded getting to do research that people looked up to, but not any kind of normal, what you'd call fame, But there was a while when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, actually, where I've had quite a weird life, where I've done a lot of things, done a lot of weird jobs, gone on a lot of adventures and things like that. And I wanted to actually even enlist some other people to create a pseudonym that we all worked under to make the weirdest life possible, to be kind of sort of like a folk legend. Of just like this inspirational, weird, like sort of Walter Mitty-esque or whatever, Forrest Gumpy.
Even William Shakespeare, there's been talk that he wasn't even a real guy; that he was just an assemblage of writers.
Yeah, but just to kind of create this thing that was more about inspiration than anything else. And you actually said something about I don't want a grave or anything like that. I'm kind of the similar vein, but I've also on the other end said, well, I want multiple graves, and I want you to put them in interesting places so that it could be not a thing to visit me, but like a thing to go to these places.
Okay.
Like a checklist, like something that would get people out of their house and see the world and do things. And if it was a grave that did it for him, great. And who cares if nobody knew who I was? But like to go to this person has 7 graves, and you go visit them all, and you get whatever.
And a selfie with each one.
Yeah.
That's like a strange parallel to Zimmerman, the Czech, the created Czech personality that was, just for anyone listening, that was correct me where I might be wrong. He's just an invented character throughout. I forget the writer, but he was a well-known Czech, and he was in multiple plays. I think they made movies of him. And I think in most of them, with the exception of the movie, he isn't even like, you never see his face. Like he's not ever pictured, but he's this kind of a Forrest Gumpy kind of character throughout the history of the Czech Republic, mythic and legendary, and kind of what you're describing.
Yeah, there was even a museum to Jarl Zimmerman at the top of Petrine Hill in the base of the tower. I don't know if you'd ever been up there.
I have never seen the museum, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, but they had like things, and he was like this comical character as well. It wasn't like totally serious, but there was like he had invented snowshoes by originally like strapping turtles to the bottom of his feet and things like that. And there was like a bust up there, but the bust was deformed because you could never see him because somebody had like steam washed it and it had melted a little bit. And yeah, he's one of the most famous Czechs, and he
Yeah.
doesn't exist, which tells you a lot about the culture, which I think is really fun. Like it's
Didn't
one
they
of the things that I've always enjoyed.
Didn't they vote him like Person of the Year or something
Yeah,
like
I
a
think they
decade ago
did.
or something like that? Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is just fantastic.
Yeah. It's super Czech. All right, so leading into our next topic here, we've been talking a lot about the Czech Republic, and we met in Prague, you and I would like to know, why are you there? What took you to Prague, or was it Prague you went to first, or what took you to the Czech Republic or Europe, or how'd you get there?
Yeah, so when I was in college in 2004, a group of friends decided we were going to go to Europe, and we went to 7 countries in like 18 days or 20 days, way too fast.
Mm,
And one of those places was the Czech Republic, and I remember getting off the train and walking out of the train station and into Prague and just feeling overwhelmingly like I was where I was supposed to be, like it was home. And it was just a beautiful place. And I'd had relatives that had gone there, like my family's Hungarian, Czechoslovakian back in our roots. Some of them were kind of
mhm.
a mutt, but that's some of it on my mom's side. So like I could say that there's some ancestral appeal, but there isn't. It was just I came here and it was beautiful, and it felt like, I don't know, felt like something I had dreamed. I felt more at home than I ever have in the US. I always have felt like an odd duck there.
Right.
Um, and so I went around Europe, and I came home, and I went back and finished my degree because I felt like that was important. And then life kind of just picked up, but I always thought about coming back. And then one of these moments in life, which I like to call, I don't know, fortunate, unfortunate events, where like some of the best things have happened to me because of some of the worst things that have
Right.
happened to me.
Sure.
So things just kind of lined up where everything sort of fell apart at the same time. And I came to Prague in February 2006 to do a training to teach English so that I
Hmm.
could live and work abroad. And it was supposed to be a 1 month program. And I came and I just stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed. Yeah.
And became a citizen.
Yeah. And I'm a citizen now. I'm a
Yeah.
Czech. Yeah.
It's funny. I'll just give you a quick
Yeah.
how I got there. I had a almost opposite reaction to Prague. I went there because, well, I'd always wanted to go to Europe, and at some point, it's a longer story that we can talk about at some other point. But the girl that I was quote unquote dating, because we had never met in public, she visited me once, and then we said, all right, you know what, let's give this a try. She's got multiple citizenships, but she's based in Prague. We thought, you know what, let's give this a try. So within a few months, I hopped on over. And when I got there, and that's not my wife. That relationship didn't work. She was a wonderful person. We weren't right for each other.
Well, it
No,
sounds like she's a spy, and
well, she's multilingual too. She was a really sharp person. But when I arrived, Prague is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. It's stunning.
Mhm.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful city. But I never ever felt at home there, not once. And
Mm,
I guess the closest I came to feeling at home there was when I started to learn the language. And you
yeah.
could absolutely argue like, well, you didn't feel at home because you didn't try to be at home. And that would be true, because when I started learning the language, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can connect. But I was largely illiterate there. I mean, it was weird being illiterate as a grown man. I couldn't read. I
Right.
couldn't read anything. I didn't know what anyone was saying for the most part, which worked to my benefit because I don't look Czech. I look very Spanish, I suppose. People just left me alone. They're like, oh, he's a foreigner. They wouldn't hand me like the solicitations on the street. Here's come
Right. Right.
visit
Right.
come visit our pub or whatever, because I didn't look local. But anyway, I just never felt at home in the Czech Republic. I always felt, and I don't want to sound negative, because people like yourself absolutely love the country and the
Yeah.
place. But I just always felt like there was a weird sadness there. Like it's just a
Oh, for sure.
an unhappy quality, like in the general population. And
Yeah.
I can't say that's true outside of Prague because there's some, people are living their
Yeah.
lives, whatever. But like in the city itself, there was just like a gloom there that I just kind of absorbed. And and to be fair, I went there an unhappy human being. I was not a happy
Mm-hmm.
person when I arrived in the Czech Republic. And I was much happier when I left, not because I was leaving, because I had met my current wife my only wife. And we were moving to Canada, and it was just, yeah, I left happier than when I arrived, but I just I never quite jived with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vibe there, if you will. And I really wonder how it would be now. I'm super nostalgic of Prague now. I miss it all the time. Jody would go
Mhm.
back there tomorrow if I
Oh,
agreed
really?
to it. Yeah, she's like,
So I'm gonna write her right after this.
yeah, she is Prague sick. But we're happy with the things we have now. We have 3 large dogs. Like we have some
Yeah.
things that would be hard to move around, but we have a home, and we got things that we're rooting here, But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
she loved Europe and Prague, and there's just a ton more things to do than there is in rural New Brunswick. You know what I mean? Just there's
Yeah.
restaurants and
Well,
bustling
and
activity.
I get that. I get that feeling because, like, I've had multiple friends that have left and come back
Mm,
because it's like Kafka said, like, once this mother gets her claws in you, she never lets go.
right.
And like, there is just something to the city. But you're also right. Like, there's kind of a melancholy. There's kind
Yeah.
of a malaise. And I think it's much less present in the younger generation.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of cultural things and historical things and just kind of general attitudes and the way that people interact with each other. There's a lot of things going on there, but it never really bothered me. One of the things that I actually always appreciated it was I felt like I was getting like a really genuine sense of people. Whereas I felt always in the US where I was getting this veneer, like this is the plastic person persona. When you go and the waitress comes over, she's like, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And like inside of her head, she's miserable and dying and thinking about all the bills she can't pay, but
Yeah.
like smiling and I always kind of like appreciated that unvarnished,
Yeah.
honesty, even if it was sometimes acerbic or even just at times, like in some of the bureaucracies, just plain straight up cruel. Um,
Yeah, they can be very direct. They're absolutely very honest. They're not. This is terrible. I'm over here like saying this is how the Czechs are. That's not what I mean. But my experience with as an English teacher there, one of my favorite questions they would have was, when you ask me how are you, do you want to know how I am, or are you just being polite? Yeah, that was always so funny because, and the way I would respond to that was because they don't have those sort of like chit chatty pleasantries. They weren't interested in telling you their problems necessarily. So
yeah,
but my answer to that was always, well, in the U.S., and in the Western world, it's very much a greeting more than anything else. But because I asked the question, I am prepared for an answer. That's how I would always tell them. So man, I would get some honest answers. Like, oh,
oh yeah,
my hemorrhoids are acting up, and this and this. I was like, wow, okay, thanks for answering my question. Yeah, that was a real thing. And then another one, I remember one of my students, he was showing me a picture of his son. And the boy, he was like 4 or 5 years old, and he had like Coke bottle lenses in his glasses, and
Mhm.
he had this like unflattering grimace on his face, but it was a smile, and I was like, oh, he's a cute boy, yeah. And the father's answer was like, no, he's not.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Americans you can say are fake here and there, or as at large. I wouldn't say fake, but at large, they sort of hide what's going on behind the scenes. But
yeah.
there's something to say to that positivity too. I think
Yeah.
you don't need to say your kid is ugly. I don't know. It's just it was
Yeah, no,
funny. It always caught me off
I
guard when they were so honest.
kind of come back around. Like, there are some really nice things. Like, I don't consider it like just straight up fake in America. It is
Right.
sort of like we're trying to get through our day without
Yeah.
making each other feel worse. So I see the benefits of both sides, and I've definitely had my share of mean bureaucrats over the years. So yeah, I mean, I'm ready for a new place too, just for a taste test. This is home, but I'd love
Right.
to move other places. Which reminds me, how have you felt with your emigration into New Brunswick? Like, how's that been for you?
It has been so at first. So as you know, I mean, others might not. I was
Alone on a farm, right?
Yeah, well, we were, yeah. So we were there and in Prague, and I was ready for a change. I was ready for maybe a more familiar culture where I could like speak the language. And I don't mean to bring this back to Czech, but like I was often, I think, shielded by a lot of Czechs. They're like, oh yeah, he doesn't need to know this, or like just
Yeah.
kind of move around my ignorance, just not to burden me with it or what. But like I wanted to be included more than anything else, and so I was ready for a culture that was a little more recognizable. I was ready for a language that I could communicate fully in, and I wasn't interested in going back to the U.S. All of Jody's family is in Canada. Her sister and brother-in-law and her niece and nephew, our niece and nephew, are here in New Brunswick. Her parents were in Toronto. Everyone's here now. We came here. She came here on a visit and was like, "Oh yeah, it looks great. We should do it." And my whole thing was I wanted to farm. I wanted to do like a small farm, like a not a hobby farm, but like just a sustainable small farm that I can manage by
Hmm.
myself without like a tractor or big equipment. Just like they call it a walk behind tractor. It's like a 2-wheel thing, and you can put different implements on it. And I quickly learned that I suck at farming. It took me about 5 years to just like, all right, I gotta change it up. But for that 5 years, I would say I was a pretty miserable human being. I wasn't a very
Oh,
I was trying to make this thing work, and it wasn't working.
yeah.
And yeah, I think Jody got a job, and she was working at a cafe. Um, and she was, she was pulling her end really, and I really
Yeah.
wasn't so much. And I think that weighed on me a bit, and not because she was bringing home the bacon or anything, but just because I was trying this thing, and
Hmm.
she had to work, and it was
Yeah.
hard work what I was doing, but it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So when I sort of gave that up, it was like the clouds parted, and I have been very, very happy ever since. I mean, we'll go into
Well,
it
that's
later
great.
down the line. Just a lot of things changed for me at that point, and I've just been in a really, really good place. Now Jody's trying a thing for. I said you got 5 years to try your thing, and
Yeah.
so she's trying a thing, and I'm trying a new career here, and hopefully that's going to get going. I mean, like I said, Jody is heartsick for Prague every now and then,
Yeah.
but she doesn't hate it here, and she's happy that her family's here, and like
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
happy here. But yeah, I think if the stars were aligned, she'd be happy to go back to Prague just because there's a lot of things there. Not
Sure.
much here, but yeah, we have everything we need. Um, I'm just so grateful for where I'm at right now in my life, and that's probably the first time in my life I've been like just happy with. Yeah, no other way to describe it. Probably the first time in
That's
my
really
life I've been happy.
lovely.
Yeah. So to answer your question, it's fucking going great.
In so many words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I haven't really expressed that in a while, I guess, but I do think about it, and I do make it a point probably every day to like look around and be like, wow, like this is good, and I would be an asshole to
Yeah.
complain about anything. You know what I mean? Because I'm in a really good place, and yeah, that's. I wasn't there in Prague, unfortunately, but I do think
Yeah.
that if I
No.
went back there now, I think with this sort of fresh perspective, I think I'd be happier there now if I were to go back.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be an unhappy place for me anymore because that stuff I don't absorb that stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
negativity or melancholy, as you're saying, it just doesn't affect me the way it used to. And
Sure.
I think I think I'd be okay if I were to pop back over there. We'll see, maybe
Yeah.
one day.
Well, I had a question for you.
Okay.
And you can choose. I'm going to give you the easy out or the hard path. So the hard path, some top life goals that you've had or have,
Hmm.
even ones that you've already achieved.
Okay.
Or the easy path, what's your favorite cryptozoological creature or legend and why? So
Okay.
you can go either avenue.
I think
Maybe they're
okay.
combined. I don't know.
I kind of yeah. I want to see a Bigfoot, and I saw one. Life goal achieved. I'm gonna maybe quickly answer both because I have something to
All right.
say. I really want to do the cryptozoology one because I have things to say about that actually.
I'm so pleased.
And and I'm going to throw that back to you because I want to hear what you have to say about it
Okay.
as well. But I'd say like so a life goal, maybe a vague life goal that I've always had since I learned the terminology is and I forget the psychologist. Eric Erickson maybe is the guy that came up with nature versus nurture, and then I think that was the first one, and then there's a whole series, and by the end of your life, it's you die with ego integrity versus despair. And my sustained goal since I was a young person was to die with ego integrity. Like, I don't want to be at the end of my life and be sliding towards death and be like, wait. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do
Yeah.
this. I'm not ready. I wish I had done that. I regret this. So yeah, that's kind of a very broad life goal. Is I want to die happy, essentially, and I don't want to. I want to be ready when I go. And that sounds stupid, but I want to not regret my life, and I don't already. I mean, I could go right now; I'd be fine. But I don't want to have like despair as I go. And I don't know. We don't have enough conversation with old people to know. Well, I don't anyway, to know if that's really a thing. Because I mean, my grandparents, I think when they died, they were like, yeah, okay, I'm fine. You know, and I don't think they were super happy, but
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's one.
So wait, hold on. What was that called? What kind of integrity? I didn't catch.
I don't think I mixed it up, but if I did, I'm sure if you just Google ego integrity versus despair,
Ego integrity. Okay.
like you die with your ego, what's the word I'm looking for? Intact. You know what I mean? You're not
Okay.
you're not, it's not splitting apart in different ways because you didn't do this, you didn't do that, or you don't know who you are, sort of thing.
So like dying without regret, or
Essentially, yeah. You're
okay.
dying.
All right,
And,
cool.
and I'm generalizing it because I don't really, like, I learned this in psychology in like 2002. So
Sure.
I don't remember all the details. It just left an impression on me.
Yeah.
Dying with, or dignity versus despair. Maybe that's what it was. Ego integrity / dignity versus despair. Either way, yeah. If you do a Google search on that, it'll pop up. Life goals. I don't have any kids. I don't have any sort of security for when I'm an old person, and neither does Jody. No one's going to take care of me when I'm an old person. I got one niece on my side, and a niece and a nephew on Jody's side.
You're it, guys.
Yeah, and that's it. And we should be pampering them because they need to love us when we're old. But yeah, anyway, so I guess a life goal of mine is to be able to save, and this is a more practical goal that just wasn't on my radar when I was younger, but to be able to save enough to I don't know, put ourselves in a facility that can wipe our butts when we need it, and
Sure.
and feed us, which is not a scary thought. Maybe, I mean, that might get scarier the closer I get to it, but it's a fact that's coming.
Yeah.
And unless I get hit by a car or something. But yeah, so a life goal of mine is to make sure I guess I die, as Chris Rock would say, on a mattress, and not between buildings somewhere in the cold.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good goal.
Yeah. All right, I did a lot of talking, so I'm going to ask you what's your favorite, and I'll answer afterward. Your favorite cryptozoological or creature of legend, or creature / legend?
It's a good question. I always kind of I was a dinosaur kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big dinosaur kid when I was in, gosh, it must have been first grade because of what school I was going to. I think I had read all the dinosaur books in the school library. And, I knew all the things, and I'd get annoyed when there was every couple years they'd have this news cycle where it would come up that like the Stegosaurus had two brains. One that was like basically just to work its tail, and
Right.
one little tiny pea brain. Every once in a while, it would come up in the news, and I'd always get upset because I'd be like, "We've known that for years." I was expecting dinosaur news. So Loch Ness holds like a little soft spot in my heart. But also living in Northern California, Bigfoot, Sasquatch,
Right.
has like I remember just driving, in California, Northern California, it's just driving through the woods a lot of the time, and just like if you're in the passenger seat or the back seat, if you're a kid, looking out there trying to see some hairy arm moving, and it was really enjoyable. And I had a girlfriend in high school that swore up and down that they had heard a Bigfoot because they lived out in the woods, and I don't believe in Bigfoot, but I would love to. It sounds like it's they're very kind of romantic sort of notions, and it's nice. So I think Loch Ness and Bigfoot might have to arm wrestle for it.
The famous surgeon photo. I'm sure you know it. The famous surgeon photo was a hoax.
Yeah, I do.
That was revelatory in our lifetime. Yeah, because he died. I don't know how old we were. Probably in our 20s, and he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that famous photo that is circulating the globe for the past 30 years. Yeah, that was fake."
Yeah, going back to how to be famous. That might be how to do it on your deathbed as a joke. Like,
well, he had it though, man. Like if he hadn't admitted it was fake, he would have inspired wonder in children for the rest of humanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now he's more famous. Well, now that's just going to go away. That photo is going to go away. It's no longer going to be in the books, the historical Loch Ness monster books. I was a cryptid freak when I was a kid, and I didn't really care so much about dinosaurs. Although the Stegosaurus having two brains, I don't know if that was because we're essentially the same age. We are the same age, and that was just
Yeah.
like in pop culture at the time, because that left an impression on me too. I'm like, yeah, man,
Hmm.
Stegosaurus has a brain in his tail and in his head. That was just that always stuck in my head as well. But there was a book in our school library in the fourth grade called Monsters of North America, or The Monsters of North America, I think.
Hmm.
And if you look at the little card that they back in the day, you had they had the sleeve glued into the interior of the book, and then you
Yeah,
have a
yeah, yeah.
card. You write your name on it, the date, and so they leave it with the library, so they know who has it. I filled up those cards. I was the only name on like two or three of those things. And in hindsight, the librarians there must have been like, this kid is gonna murder somebody when he gets
It's
older.
the
Because
crypto kid.
yeah. But when I was 20, I had made my way up to Canada and Vancouver, and another little similarity. You walked across the U.S. and I
Hmm.
hitchhiked across the U.S. When I was younger, and I stopped at a hostel in Vancouver, and there was some Canadian guy, and he was giving me a rundown of like what to see in Canada, and he had mentioned a town called Kelowna. It's in British Columbia. And he said, "Oh, there's a lake. Was it Okanagan? Yeah, Lake Okanagan." He's like, "And if you go there, there's supposedly a sea monster there named Ogopogo." I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And I had already kind of outgrown that sort of thing, and I was like, "Oh, neat. Yeah, I'm never gonna go there, but thanks." And it didn't register anything for me. And by chance, I'd already forgotten that the town was Kelowna. And by chance, I was like walking through Kelowna, and I was at the lake, and
Hmm.
I didn't even know that was there. I didn't see any literature, any sort of like placards or anything. But this is where
Yeah.
and just so you know, I didn't see Ogopogo. That just to kill
Oh,
that,
okay,
just to
okay.
kill that excitement right now. Sorry. Uh,
The tension was rising.
yeah, no, I didn't see it. But once I realized where it was, boy, I sat down and I was like, all right. And we're waiting for one, but nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I came upon a statue, and it was, I guess it's a statue with more of an art installation, I guess, but it was like this anaconda bodied, dragon headed creature. And it was like weaving in and out of the ground, like as if
Uh-huh.
it was water. That's how it accelerated, I guess. And it had like this sort of goofy horse type head, dragon type head. And I saw it, and just this weird memory triggered in my brain. I was like transported back to 1989, and I was holding open that book of Monsters of North America,
Hmm.
open to the page of a black and white picture of the very statue that I was looking at. And oh yeah, it was such a cool moment, because that's when I realized, oh my god, this is Ogopogo, and I even remember the name again. I'm like, yeah, it's Ogopogo. Now
Yeah.
it all clicked together. So yeah, that was a pretty neat thing. Very very briefly, when I was 5 years old, my mother was babysitting us and the neighbor's kids, and it was just before Easter, and she said, just to kind of get us out of her hair, she's like, oh, I saw in the news that the Easter Bunny was out surprising kids. Like, go look for him. And so this was the mid 80s. So we were like just all over the street on our own. And we broke into our neighbor's house. The neighbor's kids' parents were, I don't know if I just said this, neighbor's kids' parents were gone. Our mom was
Mm.
babysitting them. We entered their house through the windows. We were very resourceful, looking for the Easter Bunny. And we were between houses. And I heard, and to this day, I'll go to the grave saying this happened. I heard, those old, like those gymnastic springboards where you like, bring,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
jump onto
yeah.
the balancing board. I heard one of those sounds, bring, and I looked up, and between the houses there was a 6-foot privacy wooden fences. And as I looked up, I saw the shape of a gigantic humanoid, muscular rabbit jumping over the fence, going so fast his ears were
Like
back.
a real Terry Crews bodybuild.
No. It was more like the rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. He had like a big lower half and like a
Okay,
thin
okay.
muscular top half.
Yeah.
Big old head, and it was pure white, and it was like the fur was blown back in the wind, and his
Yeah.
ears were back because he was jumping so fast. He had his arms kind of bent at the elbows, and his fists were clenched, and his knees were drawn up. He went right over the
Yeah.
fence, and we opened the other neighbor's backyard to look for it because I was like went hysterical, and that was that. And I've been telling that story for years. And then when I was in my late 20s, I met a guy I was telling that story to because it's such a wonderful story. He dated a girl who told him the exact same story, but from a different perspective, and that was the girl that I was with, the neighbor's kid. She said that she
Oh,
saw
that's
it.
fun.
I never really believed her. She said she saw it too. I never really believed her because she was just kind of, I don't know. I didn't think she was telling me the truth at the time. But I guess I was wrong because she was a grown woman telling the exact same story. So there you go. There was
That's
my
fun.
brush with a cryptid.
All right. Well, I might have a new favorite one, Ogopogo, if for no other reason than I suspect that if my spelling is correct, it's a palindrome, which is my word dorkiness.
I don't know. I don't know if it
If
is.
it's all O's, then
I hope
Ogopogo.
I'm saying it right.
Well, If you're not, then I'm gonna make a brand new one because I like palindromes. So you're an avid reader, I believe, from memory.
I'm a slow and methodical reader, but yes.
Yeah, I also am a very slow and methodical reader. But what's on your nightstand? What are you reading right now?
So I have a couple of books going. I just finished the first fiction book I've read in a long while. I haven't had an attention span for fiction for some time, and I just finished last night actually. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick.
I've always wanted to read that.
Yeah, it's been on my list for decades as well, and that's the basis of the movie with Harrison Ford, Blade Runner. But they did a pretty good job. I mean, it's not the same exact story, but they did a pretty good job with the book. Great book, by the way. I loved it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's like 200 and something pages. And then in the nonfiction, I have a book on chakras that I've been reading for quite some time because it's interesting. I have a problem with, I don't want to, but I do. I have a problem with people saying this is what a chakra is, and this is how you, or not even a chakra, just anything that's unsubstantiated or unproven scientifically. And they're like, this is what it is, and this is how you do it, and this is the correct way to use it. So I'm trying to I'm interested in the subject, and I do believe in chakras. The book is a little bit too instructive for me, I think. But anyway, it's taking me a while to read it. And then the other one is, I haven't started it yet. It's also woo-woo. It's called the Silva Mind Control Method, and it's about, like a way to kind of train your brain and meditate better and tap into intuition and I'm super into the woo for the past few years.
Yeah. You've been sending us woo stuff for years now,
dude. Yeah. You're not the only one. I've been sending it to anyone who would listen, and nobody does. And I get it. It's like you start talking about this stuff, and I've seen people like physically getting uncomfortable as I'm talking about it. But I wouldn't be talking about it if I didn't think it was useful and like helpful. And it's this is for another subject, another time, because I will go on, and we will lose anyone who's like flirting with the idea of listening to this podcast. But anyway, so yeah, what's on your nightstand? What are you reading?
Yeah, so I always have like a pile of books on my nightstand now. There was a number of years where I didn't read. I was real picky about my reading and things like that. But then I started reading to my son. I started reading him like YA books, even though he's 7, 8, just because otherwise it was just too boring. And I wanted kind of a long-term thing. He was sick at one point, and I was like, well, let's read this book. And then I started writing, and now I read a lot because it's more interesting because I'm doing it kind of analyzing as a hopeful writer. So I always have a stack of books on my bedside now. One of them is Bird by Bird from Anne Lamott, and it's actually a book about writing, which I didn't know when I picked it up. I just knew my wife liked it. It was on our bookshelf, and I'd heard of it, so I picked it up. And it's about writing in life, and it's fun. There's some nice chapters. She's got kind of a disjointed personality where she's got sort of some kind of frantic jokes and things like that, but there's some nice advice in there. A lot of it's even stuff that you already know, but it's nice. It's a real nice book. The other thing that I'm actively reading is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. It's a science fiction, or I guess it's fantasy science fiction book. I'm not sure where. I think that she calls it speculative fiction, which then it avoids being put in a category, because you can have like a little bit of a fantasy element and a little bit of a sci-fi element and not worry about where. But in any case, it's a Hugo Award winner, and I've never really been like, when I was young, I was really into fantasy, and I'm trying to write some fantasy. I steer more towards speculative as well, like magical realism or sci-fi. But yeah, it's fun. It's nice. She deals with some interesting things in it, but it also reminds me how I don't really like magic things, because they come up, and the problems come up, and then they're like, and I magicked my way out of it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not in for this.
What do you mean by magic your way? Like, what do you mean by that?
Just like, when you're in a fantasy world. And so I read a lot of Piers Anthony when I was young. To put this in context, I read like just dozens and dozens and dozens of books from this guy. And then I was sitting on a bus as an adult reading over, the guy was reading off his laptop, and I was reading over his shoulder, and I was like, oh, this is terrible. What is this crap? It was Piers Anthony. But, we're just like, you're somehow submerged underwater, and magically you have just the thing you need to be able to breathe underwater. Just like some magic. It's just all too cute, too convenient. So sometimes like
lazy problem solving, I guess, or lazy ways to move the plot forward.
Yeah, it's like there's that wonder that people love about fantasy, and I can enjoy that. But where it's just kind of like, if that's your way out, like, I want you to get more creative. I want the problems. And I think sci-fi can do the same thing with like, then we technologied this and it
Right.
worked. But I feel like a lot of times sci-fi is set up to like really work at problems harder. But in any case, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's interesting. She deals a lot with like race and power dynamics and things like that, which is interesting, and she's gotten a lot of hate for it. But she's also won a whole bunch of awards. So I think it's really interesting stuff. Yeah, beneath that I've got just kind of a smattering of books like The Crucible, because I've never read that. Anxious People, which is like a Danish guy or a Swedish guy or something like that, and it's comedic, and Bill Bryson, and who's also a comedic writer, and yeah, just kind of a couple of things here and there. Annihilation.
I also have a pile of unread books. In
Yeah.
fact, that Silva Mind Control one was catapulted to the top of my list, but like I've got some that have been waiting to be read for an embarrassingly long time. But
well, it's fun to hear about what you're reading. I'll have to check back in, see where you're at every once in a while.
yeah, well, hopefully I won't be reading the same stuff.
Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every week. If any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com. We hope you'll come back. Enjoy your week.